I've made so many changes since I started out on this journey 10 years ago. It's not something that you think is going to happen to you. You think I'm going to change this, I'm going to change this one thing, I'll get better in this area, but you don't see how deep this goes. And there's no point in thinking about that at the stage when you're starting out. Change is as much about a shift in mindsets as it is in making the changes happen in your life, and those mindsets take time to change. The shift in mindsets was really a crucial step in not only making the changes happen in my life, but making them stick. When I'm talking about shifting mindsets, I'm talking essentially about stopping believing in one way of doing things and building other sets of beliefs, right? So, and a lot of the times you're going to be building these sets of beliefs from the ground up. The beauty of this is that you get to build the beliefs that are going to take you to something that you want in your life, right? Not something, it's one of the problems about beliefs is that a lot of the beliefs that we hold are beliefs because we were born in a certain place, because we were born in a certain time, because we were born with certain parents, because we went to certain schools, that kind of thing. So the chance to be able to break down your own beliefs and your mindsets and rebuild them back up. Some of them, we're not talking about a complete refurbishment here, but just, the basics. The first step is to really understand that changing your beliefs is possible, right? That's the first step. If you don't believe it's possible, it's not going to happen. No matter how long you've held on to those beliefs, believe it's possible. No matter how deeply ingrained those beliefs are, you can change, right? How do you change these deep-seated beliefs is another question, right? In one word, if I had to give you one word for it, it would be slowly, in time. Take your time, one step at a time. Now, shifting mindsets always starts with maybes, right? You open the door to the possibility of something else happening, something new happening. You open the door to becoming a different somebody, a different person, a different somebody else, right? Or at least, at the very least, you can start thinking in a different way of doing things, in a different way, by having that maybe there. Maybe there's another way of doing this. Maybe I don't need alcohol to have fun. Maybe I don't need alcohol to socialize. Maybe I can live a life without alcohol in it. And all those maybes are in your mind in the first stages of change. That's the only way you can change, really, in that contemplation stage. And like I said, it's a good place to start. It's a place where everybody has to begin. Nobody has got certainty in the beginning of this, right? Nobody is sure what's going to happen next year. Right? How can you be sure what's going to happen in 5 minutes' time, right? You can predict, and I think we're quite good at making predictions, but not in the surety of things. There's no guarantees that anything is going to turn out the way you want it to turn out. So when we're talking about changing the way that we're living into something else, when we're talking about getting away from alcohol, like I had no experience of this, and most of the people that are coming to us have got no experience of what it's like to live a life without alcohol, what it's like to live an adult life without alcohol, let's put it like that. And that's one of the most difficult things. And yeah, there's no way you can be sure what's going to happen. So maybe this, maybe that, is a great place to start. It's certainly better than no way, or I can't, or it's impossible. Maybe is the first step towards certainty. So, like I said, it's through developing the right mindsets that you start to believe that you can do things differently, that you can move your life in a different direction. And we're talking about dynamic mindsets here that are aimed at a target that you really want to get to. They'll take you through sort of a scale of belief, so to speak. Now, in our Habits V2 yearly program, we call this laddering up. So, let's take stopping drinking alcohol, for instance. Your aim is to get to a place where you don't give a fuck about alcohol anymore. And you begin by telling yourself that leaving alcohol in the past is possible, right? Just that. You start out with the possibility of doing this, that it is possible to do this. And you make some progress. You put the alcohol-free days in, you get some alcohol-free days behind you. You work on your discomfort muscles. You chip away at the alcohol habit bit by bit, and you climb one rung up that ladder. And now you can see a little bit further. And then, once you've done that, you start to believe that that leaving alcohol behind you is much, much more likely, right? You do a little bit more work on your mind and the old habits, on expanding who you are, on broadening your life out. You feel more energy, you have more time, you're sleeping better, and you take another step up that ladder. And now you can see that leaving alcohol behind is becoming much more likely, right? And eventually, you do enough work, you climb enough rungs, you start to see yourself from a much higher perspective, and you start to open up much more opportunities, and you can see your potential spreading out in front of you as you move forwards. And now there's no more maybes, right? Now you see leaving alcohol in your past as absolutely certain. You truly believe it. You know there's no going back to where you came from. There's no going back to the old behaviors, because you've made it impossible to go back to the old ways of thinking. And if you're not thinking like that, you can't behave like that. You've morphed into something different, someone different. And it's a beautiful moment. I remember that moment really well. When I first realized that I truly believed I was never going back to the old ways. When I knew that there was just no going back to those old ways. And the outcome you get is always more influenced by your beliefs than your actions. Of course, your actions are more important. If you don't take action, you're stuck where you are. However, if you don't believe it's possible, all the action in the world is just going to take you to the wrong place, right? If you don't believe it's possible, you're just heading in the wrong direction. You're like a ship without a rudder. You're going around and round in circles, or you're going with the tide. So remember, we all start out with maybes. Stop the flow, do the work, and you'll move on to a place where maybe becomes a solid certainty. Okay, if you want to follow a program to help you stop drinking alcohol and get to a place where you never want to go back to that old place, we have our step-by-step year-long program called Habits V2. Alternatively, we have a free beginners program. The links are both in the description below. Take care of yourself. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video, and I'll speak to you soon. Onwards and upwards. Bye now.